Think about the most embarrassing moment of your life. Maybe you accidentally waved at someone, only to realize they weren't waving at you. Maybe you called your teacher Mom, or perhaps you said something so awkward that years later, your face still turns red just thinking about it. Now here's the strange part. You probably don't remember what you ate last Tuesday, but somehow, your brain remembers that embarrassing moment perfectly. The sounds, the faces, the feeling in your stomach, even your racing heartbeat. Why? Is your brain trying to punish you? Or is there a reason it refuses to let that memory disappear? The answer begins over 100,000 years ago, long before schools, jobs, or social media ever existed. Back then, humans lived in small tribes, usually no more than 30 or 40 people. Those people weren't just your friends. They were your entire world. They hunted with you, shared food with you, protected you while you slept. If they rejected you, your chances of surviving alone became terrifyingly small. There were predators, freezing nights, injuries that no one could help you recover from. Being accepted by your group wasn't just emotionally important. It was the difference between life and death. This is where embarrassment was born. Most people think embarrassment is simply an unpleasant emotion, but your brain sees it very differently. To your brain, embarrassment is a warning system. Every embarrassing moment asks one silent question. Did I do something that could damage my place in the group? If the answer might be yes, your brain immediately marks that moment as important, not because it enjoys making you suffer, because it wants to protect you from making the same mistake again. Thousands of generations of humans survived by learning social rules. The people who remembered costly mistakes were less likely to repeat them, and those people were more likely to stay accepted by their tribe. Your brain still works exactly the same way today. The only difference is that the dangers have changed. Today, forgetting someone's name, tripping in public, or saying something awkward won't get you kicked out of your tribe. But your brain doesn't know that. It's still running survival software written thousands of years ago. That's why your heart suddenly races when you remember something embarrassing from years ago. Not because the memory is dangerous, but because your brain still believes it might help you survive. And that's only the beginning, because hidden deep inside your head is a tiny structure, smaller than a grape, that decides which moments you'll remember and which ones will disappear forever. And once it makes its decision, forgetting becomes much harder than you think. Your brain processes millions of pieces of information every single day. The sound of your footsteps, the color of the sky, the people you pass on the street, the words you read. If your brain tried to remember everything, it would quickly become overwhelmed. So instead, it forgets almost all of it. In fact, by tomorrow, you'll have forgotten most of what happened today. But emotional moments follow different rules. Deep inside your brain is a small structure called the amygdala. Think of it as your brain's alarm system. Whenever something makes you feel intense fear, excitement, or embarrassment, the amygdala immediately pays attention. It sends a message to another part of your brain called the hippocampus. Its message is simple. This is important. Don't lose it. At that moment, your brain starts storing the memory with far more detail than usual. That's why you can remember exactly where you were, what people looked like, or even what someone said during an embarrassing moment years ago. Meanwhile, you've completely forgotten hundreds of ordinary days that came before and after it. Your brain isn't trying to embarrass you. It's trying to teach you. From an evolutionary perspective, an embarrassing mistake could have serious consequences. If you repeatedly broke social rules, your tribe might stop trusting you. So your brain developed a simple strategy. Remember the painful lesson and avoid repeating it. The stronger the emotion, the stronger the memory. But here's something surprising. Your memory isn't a recording. It never has been. Most people imagine memories like videos stored inside the brain. Press play, and the exact event appears. That's not how memory works. Every time you remember something, your brain rebuilds the event from pieces. Like solving a puzzle, most of the pieces are real, but some are guesses. Some are influenced by your current emotions, and some are simply filled in by your imagination. This means that every time you replay an embarrassing memory, it changes a little. Sometimes it becomes more dramatic. Sometimes it feels more painful than it really was. Over the years, your brain can accidentally turn a small awkward moment into something that feels absolutely unforgettable. But if memories can change, why do they almost always become more embarrassing instead of less? The answer lies in a strange psychological illusion, one that makes almost everyone believe that the entire world is paying attention to them, when in reality, almost nobody is. What if I told you that the most embarrassing moment of your life was probably forgotten by everyone else within a few hours? Sounds impossible, because when something embarrassing happens, it feels like the entire world is watching. Imagine you're giving a presentation. Halfway through, you completely forget what you were about to say. The room goes silent. Your mind goes blank. A few people smile. Someone quietly laughs. At that moment, it feels like every single person in the room is staring at you. Your brain immediately thinks, everyone will remember this forever. But that's almost never true. Psychologists have a name for this illusion. It's called the spotlight effect. The idea is simple. We all believe we're standing under a giant spotlight, where every mistake we make is noticed by everyone around us. But in reality, most people are far too busy thinking about themselves. Scientists demonstrated this in a famous psychology experiment. Researchers asked college students to walk into a classroom wearing an embarrassing t-shirt. Before entering, the students made a prediction. They believed that about half the class would notice what they were wearing. Afterward, the researchers asked the people in the classroom what they remembered. The result was shocking. Only a small number of students even noticed the shirt. Most people couldn't remember it at all. Why? Because while one person was worrying, everyone is looking at me, everyone else was thinking, I hope nobody notices me. That's one of the strangest things about being human. Every person believes they're the center of everyone else's attention, but everyone else is doing exactly the same thing. Think about yesterday. How many strangers did you walk past? Can you remember what they were wearing? Can you remember who accidentally stumbled, who spoke awkwardly, or who made a small mistake? Probably not. Now ask yourself another question. Why would anyone remember yours? Your brain exaggerates your own mistakes because they happened to you, not because they mattered to everyone else. And this creates a strange illusion. The memory grows bigger every time you replay it. Each time you think about it, your brain adds a little more emotion, a little more embarrassment, a little more regret. Until years later, the memory feels much worse than the original event ever was. But here's the strange part. If embarrassing memories are supposed to help us learn, why do they often appear at the worst possible moments? Why do they suddenly return when you're trying to fall asleep, taking a shower, or sitting quietly doing absolutely nothing? The answer has nothing to do with embarrassment. It has everything to do with how your brain spends its quiet moments, and once you understand it, those random cringe memories won't seem so random anymore. Have you ever noticed something strange? Embarrassing memories almost never appear when you're busy. They don't interrupt you while you're laughing with friends, playing your favorite game, or watching a movie. Instead, they wait until everything becomes quiet. You're lying in bed. The lights are off. Your phone is beside you. You close your eyes, and then, out of nowhere, Your brain suddenly reminds you of something you did 8 years ago. That awkward joke, that embarrassing fall, that stupid thing you said during class. Why now? Why does your brain always choose the worst possible moment? The answer is surprisingly simple. When you're busy, your brain is focused on the outside world. But when everything becomes quiet, it finally has time to look inward. Scientists call this the brain's default mode network. It's a network of brain regions that becomes more active when you're not focused on a specific task. This is the same system responsible for daydreaming, thinking about the future, replaying old conversations, and analyzing your past. In other words, your brain uses quiet moments to review your life. Most of the time, that's helpful. It helps you solve problems, plan tomorrow, learn from yesterday. But sometimes, it also reopens old emotional memories, not because they're important today, but because they were important once. Your brain doesn't know the difference. It simply asks, is there still something I can learn from this? And every time you replay that memory, your brain believes it's doing something useful. But here's where things become even stranger. The harder you try to stop thinking about it, the stronger the memory often becomes. Imagine someone tells you, don't think about a pink elephant, not even for 5 seconds. What happened? You probably imagined one immediately. Your brain can't avoid a thought without first checking whether you're thinking about it. Psychologists call this ironic process theory. It's one of the reasons embarrassing memories can feel impossible to escape. The more you tell yourself, forget it, the more your brain quietly asks, are we forgetting it yet? And by checking, it accidentally brings the memory back again. It's a strange loop. Trying to forget keeps reminding you to remember. But here's the good news. The goal was never to erase embarrassing memories. That's not how the human brain works. The goal is to change how those memories make you feel. Because once the emotion fades, the memory slowly loses its power. And that's exactly what your brain is capable of doing. Think about the embarrassing memory that still bothers you today. Maybe it happened last year. Maybe it happened when you were 12. Now ask yourself one simple question. How often do you think about someone else's embarrassing moments? Not very often. In fact, you probably can't even remember most of them. The awkward thing your classmate said, the stranger who tripped while walking, the person who forgot their words during a presentation. You may have noticed it, but your brain quickly moved on. And everyone else's brain did the same with your mistakes. That's the biggest trick your mind ever plays on you. It convinces you that your embarrassing moments became part of everyone else's story. But they didn't. They only became part of yours. Every person is carrying their own invisible collection of awkward memories. While you're lying awake thinking about something you said 5 years ago, someone else is lying awake thinking about something they said. You're the main character, but only in your own life. To everyone else, you're just one of thousands of people they'll meet. That might sound disappointing, but it's actually incredibly freeing, because it means most people aren't judging you nearly as much as you imagine. They're too busy worrying about themselves. The next time an embarrassing memory suddenly appears, don't ask, why can't I forget this? Instead ask, what was my brain trying to teach me? Because that's what it has been doing all along. Your brain never stored that memory to punish you. It stored it to protect you. Millions of years ago, remembering a social mistake could help someone stay accepted by their tribe. And staying accepted meant staying alive. Today, that ancient survival system still exists, but the world has changed. A forgotten name, an awkward conversation, or an embarrassing mistake won't determine your future. Your brain just hasn't realized that yet. So maybe the goal isn't to erase embarrassing memories. Maybe the goal is simply to thank your brain for trying to protect you and remind it that you're already safe. Because the memory that still makes you cringe is probably one that nobody else even remembers. And once you truly understand that, it loses the power it had over you. The embarrassing moment didn't define your life. It simply became one page in a story that's still being written. So the next time your brain decides to replay that old memory, smile. Learn from it if there's something to learn. Then let it go. Because your future deserves far more attention than your past ever did. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe. And tell us in the comments, what's one embarrassing memory your brain still refuses to forget? You might discover you're not the only one.